Hello, and welcome to Living Legacies of the Ozarks. We're so glad that you've joined us. My name is Hayden Head.
And my name is Sue Head, and we're here on the campus of College of the Ozarks at our Tractor Museum. And we have a very special guest with us today. His name is Jim Brawner, and I've known Jim for probably 25 years. He has a very interesting story that you don't want to miss. So I'm not going to try to explain, Jim, what you do, because we're going to let you do that.
Okay. I would just say that my official position with CoxHealth is Community Educator, but that was evolved from my years at a sports camp, and then 20 years with a speaker, author, Gary Smalley, and then into CoxHealth when Gary retired from his speaking tour. So I thought, you know what, I want to go and do and have an impact. And I saw this job, Community Educator at CoxHealth. So I was really interested, and I answered that late one night at probably 10:30, and my wife was in bed. And the next morning I got a phone call, or let's say she picked up the phone on it, and they said, "This is CoxHealth wanting to talk to you." And I said, okay. So I answered a few questions for them. They said, "We want you to come in for an interview for the Community Educator." I said, okay, I can do that. And I'll never forget sitting down with the three ladies that interviewed me over that time. And they said at the end of the interview, they'd been interviewing for a couple of months, and I was hopefully their last, I thought. And they said, "Well, we think you're the person for this job." And I says, "I need a little more detail about this." And so they gave it to me, and they said I would become a tobacco treatment specialist. And I said immediately, "You've got the wrong guy. You have the wrong guy." I said, "I don't have that background." And they said, "We know. You're going to hit the ground running. 2 weeks from now, you're going to Mayo Clinic."
Wow.
And the story began.
Wow. That's amazing. So so obviously there's a high need in here for smoking cessation.
Absolutely.
In this region.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious how you got from CoxHealth to Mayo Clinic 2 weeks later.
Well, it was the directors had looked into the Missouri Foundation for Health, and they had a 3-year grant that they wanted to start it out in the fall, and they mixed it up with future healthcare career clubs, and I was in charge of that too. And I felt, I'm an educator, I can do that. And that was to last a couple of years, and that is now turned into Medical Explorers for Branson.
Yeah.
And so I hit the ground running. I went to Mayo Clinic, certified as a tobacco treatment specialist and counselor, and increased that over a period of time to oncology and some other areas, the dipping, the smoking, and today the problem with vaping that's out there, and probably have impacted the lives, just individual counseling, of over 3,000 in this area over 12 years.
Wow.
You know, that is a tremendous gift to give to someone, because I'm sure a lot of folks who come to you really don't think they can quit. And so what began presumably as a pleasure has now become a burden, and they want to get out. So I'm sure that is gratifying for you. How do you help someone who wants to quit smoking? What are your first steps with that?
Boy, I would have to give a whole lot of credit to the Mayo Clinic, and my knowledge that I gained from going there and getting certified is that it's an addiction. We'll just come out and say it's an addiction. You have more acetylcholine nicotinic receptors, and so everybody going, what is that? They're all over your body. You have more for nicotine than you do for heroin or cocaine in your body. So there was a performer here in Branson that literally coded between islands out in Hawaii. He quit cold turkey the drugs. It took him 2 years to quit smoking. So that will tell you the impact. I spend There's 4 recovery centers around here. I spend time at those, and guess what? They haven't given up yet. The smoking, the nicotine. And it's because of that addiction. And one of the things that we learned about that is there is hope for anyone that wants to quit, just has that desire. I don't know if you're familiar with the statistics, but every year they'll poll the American people, and there's 70% of smokers want to quit.
Wow.
Half of those will make an attempt. And so when I say, can I help you? I can walk up to someone that's smoking, hit up a conversation or vaping, and say, hey, have you ever considered trying to overcome this? And I know 7 out of 10 are going to say yes.
Oh, right, of course.
So I got the odds in my favor to help somebody.
And so then what do? I mean, you found out that they have this desire. You must build the relationship.
Absolutely.
So how do you lead them down this road to?
Yeah. Stephen Covey made the statement, change happens at the speed of trust. And I know trust doesn't happen overnight. So you have to build a relationship, Hayden. It happens, and you guys know from your past experiences, that's what it does take, is really getting to know somebody. And when you do that, what you're doing is building the relationship and finding as much as you can about that other person and their journey. And it's through their journey you can find the key to their quit.
That is so interesting, because you think of it as a physical addiction, but clearly you're pointing to some sort of emotional or spiritual or mental, right? There's another dimension to this instead of just, I want to have a cigarette.
Nicotine is a 3-link chain of addiction. It's the physical part, which are our receptors, the mental part, which is, and think of this, a 1 pack a day smoker makes 300 hand motions a day. Now you talk about getting their exercise. They're not getting the right kind of exercise.
It's not very heavy.
Once you understand that, you know that, oh my goodness, I didn't even know I was doing that. So we do little things like changing the way they think in their brain about that habit. And that would be a little exercise we do in class. I love doing this, is taking their strong hand and they just say, I tell them to write your name in cursive, first, middle, and last, and I want to look at it. I look at it, hand it back to them. I said, put the pen in the other hand. Do the same thing. Now, it takes thought to slow that down, and is a good picture of trying to rewire their brains, left side, right side. And when you can do that by little exercises, like asking them, what hand do you use in the morning to drink your coffee? I use my right. I said, this week you're going to use your left. So they have to think through what they're doing, because this automation has happened over sometimes 55, 60 years. And I got one client that I'm working with started at 8 years old.
Wow.
A regular daily habit at 8 years old.
How old is that person now? Just out of curiosity.
They are 22 years after that. No, 26 years after that.
Okay.
26 years later.
Wow.
26 years.
Wow.
Wow, still going to quit in time for it to do them some good.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I mean, that'll change their lives.
That person right now is 6 days into a quit.
Oh, that's so good.
Okay. So how do you, I'm sorry. Do you have anything?
No, go ahead. No.
So I love that. So they're 6 days in, but I'm sure it's getting more difficult, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you help them break over this like desire, you know, when they're into the quit?
You infuse relapse prevention into it once they've quit. And how do you do that is one of the things I'll hand them out, I call it a trigger sheet. And they'll mark on it and find where they are and scale it on 1 to 10, what these things they do every day and where their pressure is. Is this a trigger? I disagree on a 1, or a 10 scale. I strongly agree that that's it. And I can take that and look at it and find what their triggers are and say, okay, Now we're going to take it a step further. We're going to track you for a week. So they take these little tracker sheets, and it's one that's so small it fits in a pack of cigarettes or a vape pack, and they get a golf pencil and they slide that in there too. Each time they use, they write it down. They tell me what, if they really needed it, if they might have needed it, or heck yeah, I needed it. So I'll find out through scaling that, and then I'll get their mood when they did it. And they'll think through that and tell me, was I happy? Yeah, I was feeling good. Or was I bored? Was I blah? Or was I sad or angry? So I can basically, just for that little tracker sheet, read them and go through that and figure out, okay, here's my track. So what you talked about is, how do we get to know them? I get to know their habits in so much detail that I'll ask them those questions. Hey, what happened between 8 and 8:30 when you smoked 4 cigarettes in a row? What was going on? I was driving my car, or I was driving my truck, or, I go, wow. And I see you tapered from it, from heck yeah, I needed it, down to I really didn't need it by the 4th cigarette. So I want to tell somebody who's doing that or hitting a vape or whatever, okay, let's get rid of the ones you really didn't need. So you start pulling those out and you reduce the risk.
That's amazing. I love that, Jim. One of the things I know, you have a secret to your success in your numbers, and your numbers compared to the national average are way above there.
Yeah.
But you told me one time something that you do.
Well, it's what we do. The thing that we have to understand is, we can't always look at a scale, A, B, C, D, 100%, 90%, whatever. When I moved to Branson, the smoking rate, nicotine rate here, no, it wasn't. It was, in 2013, it was 30%. That's a very high rate. Today, it's down to 18%.
Wow.
Well, over a period of time, education, prevention, those things that help make the biggest difference. One of the places I went to, and I'll use the current name, Elevate Branson, and I started out there with my first class. And I think there were 3 to 5 in each class that I would do there. Well, I know in my regular classes and group classes where I were doing those at the hospital, I found, probably about a 50, 60%, sometimes even 70% success rate at the end of an 8-session quick class. With my little Elevate Branson, or the homeless population in low income, I'll just say that, they have the toughest time. My success rate with that class was 23 to 25% at the end of the class. I was so disappointed. I called Mayo Clinic and I talked to one of my mentors up there, and I was saying, how do I increase the success rate? And they said, stop. You're saying you're getting a success rate with your low income between 23. I said, yeah. He said, that's 3 times higher than the national average.
Wow.
So I ended up doing a whole session for Mayo Clinic. I think it's on. They keep it in a box online somewhere. Just how to move that population to the success rate that's higher than where they get stuck in. So yeah, that's where that came from.
Do you pray for your clients?
I do.
Do they know that?
Yes, yes. And I'll ask some of them, do you want to pray right now? If I see that in their eyes, I've never had anybody say no. And it's a point, I take, their burdens every day, because I know it's going to impact their lives.
Yeah.
I'm not a miracle worker. I'm not that person. All I do is say, God, use me in any way you see fit. whatever it is I've experienced in the past, use whatever that is to help this person.
Well, I love you're giving a lot of people hope who are struggling and hopeless. So we appreciate that about you, Jim.
Yeah,
and I know that
appreciate it.
now that you are involved with the whole Cox system wide and helping them. So that's going to move the needle on our state's you're already doing.
We've got to work on our kids. I don't know if y'all are aware of this statistic. Last year, we had the smoking rate in the state of Missouri by the health departments dropped to an all-time low of 13%. And that's for over 18s. Under 18s, nicotine use has gone up to 19%.
Wow.
So we have a problem. We need help.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing your part in helping so many people in our region. We're so grateful.
Thank you.
I'm sure that for so many of these folks, that quitting smoking is just the first step in a whole new life, a whole new way of being exercised and eating well. And I'm sure that it's a prelude to so many good decisions.
Studies show out of especially an addictive population with other drugs, if you can stop the smoking first, you have a 25% chance of not going to any of those drugs again. Wow. So just by a simple program of quitting smoking, you can impact a community.
Yeah. Fantastic. We're glad you're doing that. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank
and thank you for
too.
being with us today to share that story.
I love it.
Because it's going to touch someone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us here at Living Legacies of the Ozarks. We hope you have a great day. Living Legacies of the Ozarks is brought to you by Ozark Mountain Legacy, College of the Ozarks, the Hirsch and Family Foundation, Meyer Hotels, and Sight and Sound Theaters.